Hey, Frubbles. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully you're all having a good day. I've kind of been having a very bad week. I'm not gonna lie. Mostly it's just because I can't really think of... Is my mic even being picked up? Oh, hang on. No wonder. Okay. I hate this mic. I need a new fucking mic. God damn it. I really need a new mic. And I need a new chair. So I'm in a bit of a hard place right now. And I really hate it. I don't know what to do today. I'm not gonna lie. I think I'm actually hitting some form of burnout. And that's not a good thing when this is really the only thing that I do for fun. And I would love to make it actually work, but it's just... I don't know. I've had way too many times where things are just not working out. And I don't know why. Like, I can't get a specific thing working in order to fill out a form because they need freaking video camera, and I have to get a video camera now. I'm like, I don't have the money for all of this, and it's just... I've been so disheartened to actually, like, do anything with some of this stuff, with some of the things that I want to do, and it's just... I'm having a really bad time trying to get things working, and things just don't want to work. And I don't know why they just don't want to work for me. I know it says that I will be discussing Pathfinder First Edition again. I don't know. I'm in a very sour mood. Parents aren't doing well financially, and I'm not doing well financially, and it's just... Things are hard right now, and I never thought they were actually ever going to get this hard. I'm kind of on the verge of pretty much being, well, not homeless, but pretty much not having the time to do really anything. So I'm likely gonna not be able to drive my car here pretty soon. I'm gonna have no choice but to get rid of my subscriptions to just about everything that I enjoy, including even my Amazon Prime and Amazon Prime subscriptions. So I'm really in hot water right now. And it's bad. I haven't been able to do really much of anything, and it's showing. I really want to make more videos and streams, but, like, my entire time has just been literally trying to find a job. And it has been one of, if not the most painful thing to ever do right now, is to literally apply to hundreds of positions and just get blown off every single one. And, like, I don't even have the money to move. That's, like, the issue that I'm running into, is that I need a job, but I can't get one because I need to move to, like, 4 states over, and I don't have the money to move. I don't have the money to make a down payment on anything. Life fucking sucks. And I'm at this point where I've even applied to, like, retail markets and they're not hiring. I'm hoping and praying that I can get something back from one of the jobs that I applied to. One of them requires me to freaking have a video camera that I just don't fucking have in order to actually do anything. One of them I'm hoping and praying that I can get. Hey, Uber Awesome. Oh, I'm gonna have to log back in, aren't I? But I'm just... I hate job hunting. 90% of the jobs that I've applied to, they haven't even given me the frickin' courtesy to frickin' give me an interview notification. I'm so sick and tired of waiting for a job opportunity. And it's not like it's gonna... it's not like it's gonna just fall in my lap. So... I don't know. Sick and tired of waiting for a job. And it's just... nothing. It's just nothing. And it's honestly why I'm really worried about, like, doing anything right now. Because I just haven't been able to do much of anything that I've wanted to really do. I want to do more, but it's been painful to just, like, realize that the stuff I want to do, I can't because I don't have the money to do it. And that I want to be financially stable. And being financially stable right now has been pretty much nearly impossible. I don't know. I don't know why I'm, like, just saying this into the ether, but it's just... I really wish things were easier. I really do. Sometimes I wish that, like, I would be able to do more things on Twitch and actually feel like that I matter on here or anything like that. And it's just, it's been painful. And I don't know. I don't want to quit. That's one thing for certain, is that I don't want to do. Because this is one thing that I actually enjoy doing, but I can't, like, think of anything to keep going and keep doing. It's an issue of, like, I'm having a content drought right now, and I just don't know what to do. So I've kind of went into this Pathfinder 1A discussion stuff because it's something I can do, and it's something that I know people might enjoy. Something that I really enjoy and all that, but I'm tired. Tired of just searching for jobs and getting no fucking interviews, getting looked over by every single goddamn company that has a fucking position open. I just want it to fucking end. I want the job hunting to just fucking end. That's what I want right now, is I want me finding a job to end so that I can just get back to having a hobby and doing the things that I enjoy. But I know that's not going to happen until I actually find a job. And it's the painful part of everything, is I can't find a job right now. I just can't. And it's been super frustrating, to the point where I just want to throw everything away. All the achievements I got, I just want to throw them out. Because they don't fucking matter, apparently. Bachelor degree in computer science. Doesn't matter. We need 5 more years. You need 5 more years of experience to get into an entry-level position. And it's just... so tired of companies not hiring people and throwing jobs out there and still not hiring anyone. It's just... Would love to start my own business. Can't, because shit's just annoying, and I don't have the money to do it anymore. If I was still in college, I probably should have done it, but... That's what I felt. That's what I felt for the last 3 days. Waiting for job opportunities to just pop up, and me applying, not getting any interviews, people just blowing me off, saying, "Oh, we're sorry, we're gonna look at other candidates because anything else." And I'm like, God, fuck, can one of these positions just fucking call me for a goddamn interview? That's all I fucking want. I want a call for an interview, and I've gotten none. Gotten one where they've asked me to do a qualification issue. I need a goddamn camera. My phone does not like to hook up to fucking web browsers, and it's painful. I hate it. And I just want to fucking have a chance to do something in my degree. But no, I can't. For a science degree, again, fucking... Actually, I don't even know where it fucking went. It's around here somewhere. I just don't know where it went now. I have it. It's sitting around here somewhere. I think I might know where it is. But I'm sick and tired of waiting. I'm sick and tired of everything that's been going on. I'm so sick and tired of trying to have to find a job. And I even applied to a fucking retail position, and they still haven't called me. It's been 3 fucking weeks since I applied. They still have not called me. They still haven't given me an email. I am getting sick and tired of being ignored. That is what I'm sick and tired of. I'm sick and tired of being ignored by every single goddamn company because I don't have the right experience that they're looking for. And I can't go into any heavy labor position because I'm technically disabled. I have to wear a brace, and it's just painful. It's extremely painful that I can't do a simple fucking position and people just want to just ignore me. Not supposed to be therapy. It's supposed to be a good time where I get to hang out with my community, but I can't keep bottling this up and ignoring it anymore. I just can't. And I need to say it, because if I don't, I'm going to explode on someone that I don't want to explode on. Because that is the worst thing that I've ever done. Worst thing I've ever done is explode on somebody that I didn't mean to. And I do mean that. Give me a moment. Sorry that for the first 20 minutes you guys had to listen to me do that. But I had to get it off my chest. Because I don't like being transparent. Or I don't like being shady or anything like that. I wanted to be transparent. And I've just been so tired. Day after day, looking at LinkedIn, Indeed, fucking Handshake, fucking job posting after job posting after job posting, getting ignored because my experience is not what they're looking for, but yet I have the degree. They should just fucking want that, but no, they want a degree plus 5 years of experience plus 15 years of fucking stupidity jobs. I'm done. I'm done. I'm fucking done. I don't want to do it anymore. And I would love to make streaming and content creation the fucking thing that I can do. But I know I won't be able to. I just know I won't be able to. Because it's not going to take off overnight. And it never will. Maybe one day it will. But I know it won't happen in the next, 2-3 months. It won't happen tomorrow. It won't happen next week. It won't happen. I have to work towards it, and I've just been really lazy at working towards it because my attention has been divided in trying to find an actual job so that I can keep doing this. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep going on. Doing this every day. I don't know if I can. Because, trying to find a job has been painful and extremely annoying. Give me one moment. I had to help my parents pay the electric bill this week, and it really showed that my household's financial situation isn't as great as I thought it was. I maybe have enough money for the next 3 months, and that's about it. I can't really do anything else. After 3 months, it'll just be gone, and I won't be able to do anything. I won't have a job. I won't have a way of paying my bills. My fucking insurance is $700 for no goddamn reason. Let me actually make sure that that's correct. But yeah, I've just been yeah. I would love for streaming to be the main thing that I do for content and for keeping myself going, but I can't keep it up, and I might not be able to keep it up. And it makes me really sad that I can't keep streaming as a hobby because I have to put my focus somewhere, and right now that's been into job finding, and job finding has been so annoying. And I don't even know if it's just because of the state that I live in is why. Maybe I might need to move to a different state. I have no clue. But this has just been the current situation for the last 3 weeks, mostly. It's why I haven't been able to stream every day, because honestly, I might just be using streaming to stay away from the issues that I know have been piling up, and I'm just hoping and praying one day I'll be fine. Yeah, that doesn't help either, but trying to calm myself down, because honestly, me talking like this is not helping my blood pressure situation. I honestly wouldn't mind just getting something, anything, job for anything at this point. Maybe one day I'll just randomly get like one person who's able to help me out. I don't know. It's just, it's been painful. It's been extremely painful, and I really don't like telling just about everybody this, but I could not keep it from, I couldn't keep it hidden. I just can't, because I believe everyone on my Discord knows that I've been trying to find a job, and it's been, in my honest opinion, a lot of my friends know that I've been trying to find a job, and it's just slowly but surely eating me away. That, like, nobody wants to fucking hire. Nobody wants to do anything. Nobody wants to hire somebody who has no experience, who hasn't been able to work on their craft that they've studied for. Okay. Pass control tech. Mission position. At this point, I'd be up for anything. I could hand him my resume and see if anything. Just, when you get off of work, message me on Discord about it. Or text me about it, because I know you have my actual number. And yes, Uber Awesome is a real-life friend, if anyone was wondering. Anyway. I've been talking your guys' ears off about my problems for the last 30 minutes. And I think it's about time that I... Okay. Please do. Because I'm floating on a... I'm paddling a sinking ship at the moment. And the sinking ship is going to sink if I don't patch the holes that's in it. Because I have been bleeding money for a while. And I hate it. But it's why I really haven't been... and the issue is that one of my subscriptions I was able to get rid of, but the other one I can't. I just can't. Sorry for making you guys go through that. I really am. I really am. I didn't want to do it. But I've been in a real pickle. Which one if it... what are you talking about? Which one if it's not personal? Oh, if it's not personal, Discord. Or text me. I don't care. Oh, the subscription? It's WoW. And the reason why I can't get rid of Final Fantasy... I can't get rid of Final Fantasy 14 because I actually own a house and I don't want to fucking lose that. Because it's a pain in the ass to get a house again in Final Fantasy 14, so that's the only reason I still have that subscription. Oh, speaking of which, I should probably log in and walk into my house. Because I don't think I've done it in the last 2 weeks. But there's also a lot of subscriptions I really probably should get rid of. I've been tempted to get rid of my Amazon Prime subscription because I just can't. It's an issue of I just can't keep it up. But I only really keep it so that my parents can get free shipping on stuff and can get like next day delivery on stuff. There's a few other things, like... the only real reason I keep it is because my parents tend to use it more than I do. The other one... there's a few other subscriptions that I probably could get rid of, but the one subscription that I can't get rid of at all that is required is my insurance. And that is a subscription I really wish we did not fucking need in this country, but we do. We need fucking car insurance in order to keep a car, and it pisses me off every single time I see the freaking transaction come out. I just want to throw something at the wall every single time I see it come out. Because it comes out every single time of the month. It comes out at the exact same time. It comes out on the 15th of every single month. Because that's how I set it up. Because it was supposed to come out on my second paycheck. I don't get a second paycheck anymore. I only get... I barely get a paycheck. I'm honestly on the verge of just stopping for a while, but it's not going to help anything, and I know it's not. Been 100% on the verge of just stop streaming for a while, but this is sadly my only real source of income right now. And it's been a real pain just to get it to, like, this point. And YouTube has been a real pain for me to try to get my content out there. And it seems that discussing Pathfinder First Edition has kind of taken off a bit more. But I'm not actually 100% certain. I don't know anymore. I just don't know anymore. And that's my main issue that I have right now, is that I just don't know anymore. There are a lot of ideas that I want to do, but I just can't because I don't have the disposable income. Like, I would love to do things like tabletop role-playing games with other streamers and stuff like that, but I know people just don't have that time commitment right now. And that's just an issue. Because I have been wanting to run, and this is just something that I've been telling a lot of people, but I've been wanting to run Rise of the Rune Lords for a while now, but just haven't been able to really have the time nor the group to really run it. I'm also not necessarily the most experienced GM or DM, depending on, but I know for certain that I could at least make sure that people are having a fun time. And actually, I'm gonna pause the core rulebook real quick for a very specific reason, because I have one gripe with one very specific module. It's Final Boss. This will be a spoiler for the module The Scarlet Sun, because that's the module that I ran for a group of 3 people who were new to Pathfinder First Edition. Probably not, it was not the best module to run. But I have an issue with the final boss. And this is a very specific reason as to why I have a bad taste in my mouth for this module. So, I'm actually going to go ahead and pull up a few. I don't have the bestiary on me, but I'm going to go ahead and pull up some things. Damn it. I'm going to pull up some things and we'll go ahead and get them situated when Okay. Alrighty. So, let me go ahead and do this. So, I just want to warn people that this is going to be spoilers for some of the for some of the module for the entire module of the Scarlet Sun. So if you wanted to play the Scarlet Sun, or you wanted to GM if you wanted to GM the Scarlet Sun, this won't be really of a spoiler. But if you wanted to run the Scarlet Sun, this is going to be a huge spoiler. If you wanted to play in it, huge spoiler. So let me go ahead and do some things real quick. I'm going to go ahead and go through. Let's do this. Let me go to studio mode real quick and change some things around. Here, we're actually going to change that, and we're just going to do display capture because it's just going to be easier to do that. Because I need the full rules out for the bestiary. So, let me go ahead and just pull this specific monster statistics in here. Okay, let's go back to the scene that I was just in. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and swap scenes real quick. So, I'm in the bestiary right now on Archives of Nethys, which is... This is the bestiary. This is the monster stat blocks by CR. It doesn't have all of them on here because there's a whole different book for that. I think it's in Bestiary 2 or Bestiary 3 that has bigger stat blocks for all of these because they start introducing much higher level CR creatures. But CR stands for challenge rating. CR of... This number is supposed to be a party of 4 of equivalent leveled PCs versus these monsters. So, I'm going to go ahead, and you'll go ahead and notice that left-hand side, you've got the main character known as, or not the main character, one of the main enemies known as Zadindi. It's just a rogue cleric. Her AC is 20, which is actually equivalent to a CR7 monster. Not a CR5, which it says she's CR5, but she also has the health of a frickin'... She has very low health. She has the health of a CR4 to 5 monster, so that's why she has slightly higher AC. Her health's much lower. That's not the issue that I have. This monster is not the issue that I have because this character is not that. I do have an issue with. I don't have an issue with the Scarlet Sun, CR6. The Scarlet Sun is a CR6. It has an AC of 20, a little bit high. It has less hit points than a CR6, so it's got a little bit higher of an AC. Its to hit is pretty low, so it's not hitting that often. It does, I think, roughly... It doesn't even do a whole lot of damage on each hit. I think each hit is... Let's actually do the math. Let's pull out our calculator. Yeah, ignore that my profile picture is not my actual thing. So we got 3.5 plus 4 plus 3.5 plus 4 plus 2.5... plus 4, and then a plus another 6. No. 3.5 plus 4. So on a full attack, it does 27 damage, but for a CR6, that's a bit over. So, yeah, it's not too bad. So the Scarlet Sun and that I don't have any issues with. Whites, they're just whites. There's nothing really wrong with it. Glyph of Warding, it's a Glyph of Warding. It's not really anything I need to really worry about. It's a CR4 trap. It does about 5 damage or 9 damage average so it's not really a whole lot of damage, because it's 4.5. Yeah, 4.5. Whites are whites. They're just CR3. There's a bunch of them. It's not too much of an issue. I have an issue with the main antagonist, Avalexi, who's a CR8 creature. Okay, CR8. That's not too bad. Ooh. I hate the AI assistant of freaking Adobe now. CR8 creature. Not too bad. Not too bad. But I have an issue with her AC. She has way more hit points than the average CR8 creature. Her AC is way higher than the average CR8 creature. Which, by the way, the average armor class for a CR8 creature is supposed to be 21. Her to hit is on the low side, but that doesn't mean anything. She hits 3 times in a full attack, usually. Now, my party was actually quite smart, in that making her drop her main weapon, which was actually a really smart idea. Issue. AC 26 may not sound that high, but for this adventure was meant for a level 5 party of 6. A level 5 party of 6. So their effective APL is +1, which means that this is supposed to be a challenging encounter, or an epic encounter. I think it's epic. It's supposed to be an epic encounter. Issue that I have. The pre-gens suck. I'm not even talking about, like, the ability to just dominate one person right off the bat, or outright kill a person right off the bat. I'm not joking, because it has the death attack, DC 15, which I had to look. Why do you keep doing that when I do this? Ugh. Death attack. I had to look that up, because that's part of the assassin class, prestige class. Death attack has the ability to just outright kill a character, or paralyze them. Do note, I probably wouldn't have killed them right off the bat, even though it is a chaotic evil character, which is not, like, outside the bounds of that. But DC 15 is also not that high, because the most dangerous ability is not her death attack, because she can only do that one. Oh my fucking god! She can only do that pretty much once in the encounter without any issue. The other one is Dominate Person. This is the most devastating one in the entire game, because that DC is really high. And I mean that. That DC is really high. Luckily, there are ways to overcome Dominate Person, but we won't go there. Charm Monster, I wasn't too worried about, or anything like that. Vampire Tuck is kind of like a meh thing to do. She has Greater Teleport, which allows her to just get away for free. She could technically try to summon up a bow if she really wanted to, but that's neither here nor there. So she has a bunch of these abilities, which I don't even know why she technically has Vital Strike when it doesn't even show the Vital Strike attack in her attacks. So I completely forgot she had Vital Strike, which allows her to effectively just take a standard action and do 2d8 plus 5 fire damage. She wanted to. So she has the Wand of Flameblade, which this is her art, so there's that. The issue that I really have with this is her AC. Her AC, in my honest opinion, is too high. As well, Ezran's spell selection sucks. Here's the reason why I say it sucks. 1, Acid Arrow does at most 2d4 damage, which means it only does 8 damage. Acid Arrow is useless against 2 of the 4 fights that are inside of this. Hey, Flaming Ice Dragon, how you doing? So, Ezran's second level choice of Acid Arrow sucks. Scorching Ray, not the most not the best choice, but it works. Issue is that it requires spell resistance. We're not going to say anything about that. Dispel Magic is actually a really good choice here. So is Fireball, although sadly Fireball is useless against the final boss because she's immune to fire. Same with Scorching Ray. These 2 spells are just useless in this in the last fight. Mage Armor's good, Shield's good, Protection from Evil's good. Charm Person can easily come in handy, so can Grease. So not like it's that bad of a deal. Detect Magic, Light Mage Hand, and Prestidigitation are kind of just normal. They're at will spells. And you may be wondering, why did he not take any damaging cantrips? Cantrips that do damage. And Pathfinder 1st Edition suck. Hey, Dran, how you doing? They suck. And I will show you why they suck in a minute. We'll get there. So Ezran, not necessarily going to be the one that's going to be doing a whole lot of damage. Not going to lie. Honestly, he's kind of there for support, which is fine. I just have an issue with it because literally all of his spells are kind of worthless. And that's just an issue that I have with it. His most useful wand is this Wand of Magic Missile, which is nice. Harsk, not the most dangerous enemy, but not the best either. +9 with your crossbow isn't too bad, except issue when your enemy has a 26 to their AC. That is the average for all martials in this module. +9. That's a 17 on the die before buffs. And that's the issue I have with it. That's 17 on the die just to hit an armor class 26. That's why I think it's too high. She has way higher hit points than average, and she has way higher AC than average, which does not help the situation of the marshals. Kira's not likely to really be any help either. I completely also didn't run her the right way anyway. But she has a spell that's a range, that's a ray, and she doesn't have the spell. She has combat casting, extra channel, selective channel, skill focus, sense motive. Great. Honestly, I wouldn't have taken this, and I would just given her. I would have probably just not taken combat casting and skill focus, and taken point blank and precise shot for her. Just saying. That way her Searing Light's not bad, because that's a ray attack. It is a domain spell. There's also Heat Metal. There's also Cure Light Wounds, which I don't like that they give people the Healing Domain. I'm going to go ahead and say this now. Healing Domain is kind of trash for spells. The abilities are nice, but the spells are kind of meh. Kira is your bog standard cleric of Healbot cleric. Like, she is clearly meant to be the healer. Shield of Faith is good. Protection from Evil is good. Divine Favor is nice for her. But her to hit with her sword is only +5, and Divine Favor only gives a +3 at the most, which means she's at a +8 without any other buffs. Minus maybe Bull Strength, but you're not using Bull Strength on yourself. Just letting you know. She also has 2 vials of holy water. I completely forgot about her whole, kit that she has, as well as being able to use one of these abilities once during the day, or during the adventure. Marisol, Marisol actually has a +9 to hit, which is rare for a rogue at 5th level because of other things, but yeah, she's still having to roll a 17 to hit or 15 if you're flanking. And that's the main issue I have with it, is that even while flanking, it's still only it's only a 15, which means only your melees get access to flanking. And if your boss is just sitting there letting them flank, you're kind of playing it wrong. Well, actually, I guess technically if you're playing the character to be extremely cocky, then yeah. There is that. Let's see here. Sela, +10, has the highest to hit out of everybody, and that's still only a 16 on the die. 16 on a die. That's not including power attacking. Which power attacking is a minus, at this level, -2 +4. She has the highest AC of 22, which is great. If the enemy didn't hit touch AC, and her touch AC is trash. Valeros, our last character, +9. +7. Attacking one-handed, this is a +11. Attacking without the extra hand, it's a +11. Which means he has the highest to hit with a single weapon. Issue. Still only a 15 on the die. Which has been my major gripe with how this adventure worked, is that the pre-gens are effectively doomed to fail against the final fight. Because they can't hit. Which means they can't hit, and she can hit them way more than they can hit her. Which is the issue that I have with it. Because Valeros and Sela both have an AC of 22. Doesn't matter if their AC is 22, when if I scroll all the way back up, her primary attack is the Flame Blade that hits touch AC. This is her primary attack. It hits touch AC. Which, if you don't know, touch AC is minus your armor. Is just how easy it is to touch you, which is you only add dex and deflection bonuses and dodge bonuses. So, like, this is just a frustrating fight for players, not a easy fight for players. It's a frustrating fight, and it's likely to cause a TPK due to also having an SR of 18, being immune to electricity and fire, having acid 10 and cold 10, which mean acid arrow was pretty much worthless. And I knew it was worthless because 2 of the 4 encounters, the Scarlet Sun also has freaking acid resistance of 10. Well, resists all energy types of 10. Which doesn't help. So, like, why did they make it so that the pre-gens just weren't good? I could see this CR8 having maybe 23 AC, which is still higher than the other 2 enemies. Because my honest opinion, her AC is equivalent to a CR 11 or 12 creature, which is way higher than it should be. Honestly, I was tempted to just take her armor off so that she had a 22 AC. Because then she'd at least be closer to the CR8 range. I was very tempted to just take her armor off at that point and just say, yeah, no, 22 hits. Because, like, that's an issue. She has enough hit points that she'll survive at least 2 or 3 rounds. She has the abilities to survive 2 or 3 rounds. So it's not like she's not going to be able to do her cool thing for 2 or 3 rounds. So, like, I don't know. It's just an issue that I've had with this one. And I thought about it after I already ran this, and I'm like, wow. She has a really high AC for the pre-generated characters. Now, let's say that instead of pre-generated characters, you were maybe running some probably custom-made characters of level 5, and you were min-maxing. Maybe instead of playing a strength dex fighter, you're playing either a straight dex or a strength fighter. Maybe you have a +5, that's a +10 at most, and then +11. So yeah, you're likely to hit more often. Well, with a fighter, 11, 12, 13 by this level. Yeah, 13. Which is now only a 13 on the die, which is a lot better to hit. It's possible, and I do mean this, it's possible that these pre-gens were built not for players to use, but for the GM to use so that your players didn't get overshadowed. And that's just an issue that I have with pre-gens in general. Pre-gens tend to be less powerful than player PCs, mainly because, one, these PCs are all running on a 15-point buy. I've done it. I've done the math. They're all running on a 15-point buy. Belros actually has a 14 strength. And I think he starts off with a 15 dex usually. So it's 15, 14, 13. Wait, where's the 12? 12, 10, 8. Oh, and then he puts a +2 in Constitution, more than likely. So, like, that's just how things go. Or he has a 12 in Strength. I don't really know. And he bumps it up with a +2, and then I don't know. It's a very weird time period for a lot of this, and 2-weapon fighting isn't really the best thing to do in game. You can get a lot of attacks out of 2-weapon fighting in Pathfinder 1st edition compared to D&D 5th edition. So you can get up to 7 attacks if you're a full BAB class. So it doesn't feel nearly as bad. And all marshals get up to 4 attacks. 3 attacks at most. Rogues can also apply their sneak attack more than once per round. Because it's based off of a condition, not based off of other things. Oh, I forgot about the Aura of Courage. Which Aura of Courage is a +4 to everyone against fear. Oh, against fear effects, right. And Seal is immune to fear. But yeah, it was a very weird experience running it, and I'm like, I don't know how to run this without it feeling like that the GM is going against the players. Because, like, I should have just dropped her leather armor. I should have just done that. Just dropped it. I made it to where she's just wearing, like, some random armor piece that doesn't give anything, and it's just cosmetic. Because you can do that. And then it would probably been better. And it probably also wouldn't have lasted nearly as long. Because that combat lasted, like, a while. I don't actually remember how many rounds it was, but it lasted a while. Do note, I believe that the character did get away. If I remember correct. Yeah, she got away because I shouldn't have ran it with straight 20. I shouldn't have ran it with exactly how it was, especially since I knew everyone was going to be running a pre-gen. So, should have decided against it. I didn't. Anyway, that is why I will say, don't run this with just the pre-gens. Don't run this adventure with just the pre-gens. Pre-gens are great for like a starting off point, but just don't run it with the pre-gens. This was a bad experience that I've had. And this is probably the worst experience for players because, like, without buffing and without the right buff spells, this just did not run how I thought it was going to. Because I thought they were at least going to have, like, a little bit of a challenge in order to fight. But no, it just didn't work. But we'll be back. Alrighty. Welcome back, everyone. So, yeah. I'm just gonna mention that just don't run the Scarlet Sun with just the pre-gens, because if you're gonna run them with just the pre-gens, lower the main enemy, the final boss's AC by a lot. If you run the Scarlet Sun, because I think it's a very, very imbalanced encounter. So the PCs luckily have to just get lucky on dice rolls in order to win if you run just pre-gens. So, that's all I've got to say about that. But enough of me squabbling about all that. And that's really just the few things that I wanted to discuss about that. So I don't think it's the right thing to do, and I don't think it's really a good idea to do it anyway. But yeah. And you may be wondering what does some of this stuff mean on the character sheet, and honestly, it probably would just be better to be in a game to discuss it rather than anything else. I even didn't run a specific rule in Pathfinder 1st Edition, which would have made Harsk even worse. And that is something that I think really limits ranged characters. And it's the ruling of soft cover. Since we're in Archives of Nethys, let me go ahead and just go to the rules. I think it's in the core rule book. Core rule book, combat. It's combat statistics. Armor class, damage, attacks, opportunity, speed, saving throws. No, that's not it. Oh, where is it? Where is it in combat? Attack roll, armor class, damage. All the things that can provoke attacks of opportunity. I think it's under ranged attacks. Is it in the ranged attack section? Spell components, casting a spell, activating magic items. Critical hits. Shooting or throwing into melee normally imposes a -4 attack penalty. That's not what I'm here for. Where is it? Natural attacks. Ranged attacks. No, it's not there. I need to remember how to provide... where's the cover rules? Full round actions. Free actions. Swift actions. Miscellaneous actions. Injury and death. Death is equal to... Not equal to or greater than your Constitution score. Okay. I'm just double checking some rules. Move position and distance. Measuring distance. Moving through a square. Terrain and obstacles. Special movement rules. Is it the big and little creatures in combat? Combat modifiers. Aha! Behind cover. Here it is. Cover! It's this one. Which is creatures, even your enemies, can provide you with cover against ranged attacks, giving you a +4 bonus to AC. However, such soft cover provides no bonus on reflex saves, nor does soft cover allow you to make stealth checks. So this was the one rule that I didn't run for Harsk because this is going to probably come up in a session 0 where I'll state what rules will be enforced and which ones won't. Because if you're brand new to the system and you don't know how ranged attacks work, it's better to introduce some of these smaller features later rather than all in one. I also didn't realize that you can't execute an attack of opportunity against an opponent with cover relative to you, which is something I didn't know. So I didn't know that. until I like looked it up, and I'm like, oh, well that means that your allies and enemies can provide cover against enemies who have like reach weapons and such, because reach weapons tend to use different rules for attacks of opportunity. So yeah. There's a lot of rules to actually go over in Pathfinder First Edition too. And that's kind of just like a thing that you've got to get a little used to, is that there's a lot of rules to go over. And I'll say this. A lot of people say that there's a lot of rigid rules in Pathfinder First Edition. You can ignore 90% of these rules. Like, you don't have to run every single rule that's in the game. If you don't want to increase the complexity of the game, you can just throw out rules like soft cover. You can throw out rules like the firing into melee, just give everybody precise shot for free. You know, those kinds of things. You don't have to like go through every single rule in here, and then like some of these rules are probably going to be important, like the entangled providing a -2 to attack and melee, which is actually a like I actually didn't know. As well as like the shaken or frightened condition, prone. Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's actually in here. There's also concealment, which is just a mischance, which is a D percentile roll. That's a lot of the other like random crap that's in the game that honestly a lot of games ignore. A lot of the like CRPGs for, well, the only two that I played ignore the soft cover rule, just because like it'd be a lot of checks in order to like, when you're firing a bow or any ranged attack, you need to measure from you, and if it intersects with someone else, then put a +4 to the AC. No, they just ignored it and just said, we'll just do it that way. Concealment's only a 20% miss chance, which means if you roll a 20 or less on a D percentile, you miss. Total is a 50% chance. An opponent with total concealment if you know what square or squares the opponent occupies. Concealment isn't always effective. An area of dim light or darkness doesn't provide any concealment against an opponent with dark vision. Characters with low light can see clearly for a greater distance than the normal character. There's varying degrees of concealment. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that I really want to talk about Pathfinder First Edition right now. There's really not a whole lot to really discuss. There's a bunch of like different stuff in this game. There's a lot of rules in here that you could literally build a character around if you wanted to. And with just about any class too. Minus like maybe a wizard or a sorcerer. They're more focused around spellcasting, but like you could technically do most of these rules with any character that comes to mind. Want to make a cleric that can bull rush, that can push people around? Yeah, you can do that. Want to make a character that can grapple somebody and pin them to the wall? You can do that. There's no like issue with doing stuff like that. You can do it. It's not hard. You can easily build around it. And that's kind of probably why I like Pathfinder First Edition. Honestly, if I showed you guys like just some of the other stuff on how things work, you'd be like, oh my god, that's a lot. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot in here. Like Like, even on the equipment section, we just go to equipment and I scroll down. Actually, I need to pull up the core rulebook because it's going to be in here. Oh, this is the fighter. Fighter does what you believe. Fighter fights things and does that sort of stuff. And they get a lot of feats. If you notice, they get a shit ton of feats. They get effectively a feat every level with they get a feat just literally every level in this game. And half of them and 55% of them have to be combat feats. So your fighter is good at combat. Okay, so yeah, so there's a bunch of different weapons, and these are all the weapons that are just in the core rulebook. There's the monk. There's a lot of different weapons, including shields. Like, you can use shields as weapons in this game, which is something that I think a lot of people kind of forget, is that shields aren't necessarily just a defensive item. Like, people actually use shields to smack people upside the head all the time. So, like, I don't understand why people say that shields aren't weapons when clearly they are, according to some rules, comparatively. But yeah. This is just some of the things that that a fighter can do. It can make a fighter that's good with just about any weapon in the entire game. The only issue is that a fighter is not really that versatile. It's versatile in the way that you can build the character. You can technically build a mounted combat fighter if you wanted to. There's feats to support it. And that's when we get to the feats section. There's the monk. Monk is your unarmed combat wielder. And generally have a very low AC. Their AC is not nearly as high as people would think it is. Because the issue with monks is that monks require effectively 4 stats to be kind of viable, which is they need Dex for AC, Con for hit points, Wisdom for AC and saving throw DC, and they need Strength for damage and to hit, unless you're taking weapon finesse, and then you can kind of somewhat dump strength, but you can't dump it fully. But yeah, they also, their unarmed strike damage tends to be higher in and that's because they get a shit ton of attacks. Yeah, they get up to 7 attacks, 8 if you're hasted. In Pathfinder First Edition, compared to the 4 attacks that monks get in all that. Oh, they get a +5. They do technically get their wisdom +5, which does help, but doesn't help a whole lot because they're technically still unarmored, so they can't wear any form of armor. One of the few classes that just can't wear armor in general. And they're also really fast, and they tend to just get way further out than they really should. But yeah. Monks get a whole bunch of feats for free, like Stunning Fist. They get, I believe they technically get Improved Unarmed Strike for free. Yeah, they get Improved Unarmed Strike for free, which allows you to punch people without anything. Got your Paladins. Paladins have to be lawful good. Monks also have to be some form of a lawful. They're alignment restricted. They technically did get fixed. Monks did get fixed a little bit. Paladins have to be lawful good, which is something that a lot of people kind of still play as. They still play them as knights in shining armor. Unless you're playing like, Conquest? Oath of Conquest? But, ability to detect evil. Smite evil. Only works on evil creatures. Alright, still have flat dice. It adds your charisma bonus to attack rolls and your paladin level to damage. That does get multiplied on critical hits. Lay on hands is actually a die. It's not. I think it's actually stated in the lay on hands feature. Beginning at second level, have for paladin level. Where is it? Oh, also the paladin tends to have the best saves in the game compared to other classes. Yeah, 1d6 hit points for every 2 paladin levels she possesses. So instead of it just being a flat damage die or flat number, it's 2d6, which means or 1d6, which for every 2 levels. So effectively at 10th level, it's 10d6, which fluctuates between 1 and the multiple of 6. It's the multiple of 6 number of dice to the maximum. So it's 1 times the number of dice to 6 times the number of dice that you get to roll in order to heal. As well as they also get access to channel energy, which is later. They also get access to mercies, which allows you to remove one of the conditions by just healing them with that. Fatigue, shaken, sickened, dazed, diseased, staggered, cursed, exhausted, frightened, nauseated, poisoned, blinded, deafened, paralyzed, and stunned. So some of these are actually really good. Some of these are really, really good. And you get a mercy every 3 levels, it seems. Yeah, you get a mercy every 3 levels, which is nice. Then you get to channel positive energy, which just uses 2 uses of your lay on hands. You do get access to spells, but you don't get them until 4th level. You don't get a whole lot of spells, and you only go up to 4th level, which I call these 1/3 casters, because it's full 2/3, 1/3. Even though the 4th is here, technically without the 0, it's a 1/3. Not half. These are not half casters. These are 3rd casters. Half casters are technically 5th edition. They also get Divine Bond or Mount. They can actually bond with a Mount. So we've already got 2 other classes that can actually have a animal companion, and the Paladin gets a better animal companion because it already starts with intelligence of 6. So you can actually already take some of the feats that your normal animal companion can't. You also get Aura of Resolve, which effectively just makes you immune to charm effects. Gives your allies a bonus against charm effects. Aura of Justice, which allows you to give everyone your smite up in a 10-foot radius, and allies can use the smite ability at the start of the paladin's next turn. They must, and it uses the paladin's bonuses and stats. Aura of Faith, you effectively make everyone around you have good aligned weapons. Any attack made against an enemy within 10 feet of her is treated as a good aligned weapon. Yeah. Aura of Righteousness just makes you immune to compulsion spells and spell-like abilities, which is really good. It also gives you DR5 evil, which is good if not all the creatures you're going up against are evil. If they're lawful, this is really good. If they're evil, they're really bad. And then at 20th level, the DR goes up. And when you smite an evil outsider, you can effectively banish them. And this is a supernatural ability, so banishment goes right through spell resistance. Banishment effect and the damage of the attack is resolved. The smite immediately ends. In addition, whenever she channels positive energy or uses the lay on hands to kill a creature, she heals the maximum possible amount, which is really good. And then, of course, is the Paladin Code of Conduct, which is the reason why a lot of people tend to play Paladins as these stuck-up assholes who, like, aren't really fun to play around. It's due to 3.5 and Pathfinder. Well, 3.5, because this is the 3.5 Paladin, effectively. Just updated a little bit. You got Rangers. They get a lot. They're effectively skill monkeys. The favorite enemy for Rangers is actually really nice in this version because usually you can pick at least one of these and you'll actually be really good against them. So you're just really good at fighting that specific type of enemy. Which effectively just means that you get I'm not going to say it, but because it's wild empathy. Same with the rogue or druid. Not good. Not really that good. Rangers get access to combat styles, which for the core rulebook only gives you access to 2-weapon fighting and archery. And you effectively meet these you don't need to meet these normal prerequisites, so that's the good thing. Far shot, point blank, precise, rapid, improve, any point blank, pinpoint targeting, and shot on the run. And then you get the 2-weapon fighting feats. Get endurance as a free feat, which just means they're really hard to take damage. They also get favorite terrain. Favorite terrain is kind of a hit or miss ability for Rangers. It's not really that great, but it's great when you're in it. It's just not the best. So, they're also 1/3 casters, effectively the same as Paladin, but they use the Wisdom score instead of Charisma. Hunters bond. They can bond with their allies, or they can have an animal companion. A very small list of animal companions. So, there's that. And a lot of the other effects are just kind of nice to have. Hunter's 20th level ability is not great because it's a death effect, which a lot of creatures at 20th level are immune to death effects, and it's a fortitude save, which is the best save for every single kind of creature in the entire game. So, yeah. And then we have our rogues. Of course, they're skill monkeys, portrayed by their 8+ int modifier on skills. And I just fucking went all the way down to the wrong section. God, do I hate the links inside of this book sometimes. Glasses. Rogue. Sometimes I hate the way that they've done this, because it's really hard for me to get some of this stuff done without accidentally fucking things up. They get their sneak attack, which effectively means that as long as the rogue is flanking or the enemy is denied their dexterity bonus, whether the target actually has dexterity bonus or not, or when the rogue is flanking your target, she gets sneak attack on every attack, not just once per round. This is every attack that she gets to make. Trap finding just makes them really good at detecting traps and disabling traps, or disabling anything, really. Opening locks, disabling traps. A rogue can disarm magical traps. Evasion. Everyone knows what evasion does, except it's slightly not as powerful here. They effectively just get, if they fail save, they take full. If they succeed, they take none on a reflex save. Rogue talents. There's some special talents here that are actually kind of neat. The main one is the some of the advanced talents, but we get trap sense, which is just better against traps. Can't be caught flat-footed or denied a dexterity bonus by invisible creatures. Invisible creatures also do not get a bonus against her, so ability can still lose your dexterity bonus in other ways, such as being fainted. As well as with the improved version, she just can't be caught flat-footed, cannot be flanked at all. So improved uncanny dodge means you can't be flanked, which is nice. There's the advanced talents, which there's one specific talent. Improved evasion! Except now when you fail, you only take half compared to the full. So rogues are really good, and it's probably the one talent you're going to take at 10th level. You don't have to take it at 10th level, but it's likely you're going to take it. Then we've got the Sorcerer. Master Strike is, I believe is really good, but it's based off the intelligence modifier, which isn't great for rogues. Although being able to just put the target to sleep for up to 1d4 hours is kind of nice. Or paralyzing the target for 2d6 rounds. Or just killing the target outright. All useful things. And you can... The only issue is that they become immune to the rogue's Master Strike for 24 hours if they save or not. Which means it's a once per day ability, effectively. Sorcerers, d6 hit die, as usual. Sorcerers and wizards actually use the same spell list. So that's just something that you'll have to realize. They also get a bloodline, which you're used to. They get an ability called Skew Materials, which effectively means they don't have to use any material components as long as it's 1 gold piece or less. And they get a lot more castings. You'll also notice that compared to 5th edition, you get a lot more 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th level spell slots. But the issue is preparatory casters have to prepare those spell slots. You can't just have those spell slots. Unlike a sorcerer, who has those spell slots and can just use whichever spell that they know to cast those spells. Sorcerers get bloodline spells, get extra feats based off their bloodline powers, and all that other stuff. A lot of them are kind of meant for like very specific versions of castings. You also get these bloodline spells on top of the normal spells known, which is on this list. You tend to not know a lot of spells. Especially in the higher tier, you don't really know a whole lot. You tend to know a lot more lower level spells than higher level spells, but who am I to judge? There's also arcane. There's a lot of different bloodlines here, and I could go into every single bloodline in the game, but that would just take a while because, as you can see, there's a lot of bloodlines here. And each one is different. Each one has a different playstyle. Each one has a different way of customizing your sorcerer. They all each give different spells. None of them really give the same spells, except for like maybe a few give, I think, the same exact spells. But there are very few that do give the same spells. And then we get to our wizard. Our wizard, of course, uses spells, and they're the same way. They also actually get a bonus language. They can actually take Draconic as a bonus language if they wanted to. They also get an Arcane Bond, which can be a familiar or a bonded object, with each one being kind of like unique to the wizard. You can pick up a familiar, which I don't know if the familiar rules are in here just yet. There's cantrips. That a sorcerer also gets cantrips. They get Scribe Scroll, which effectively means that they can make scrolls, which you can craft in Pathfinder 1st Edition. You can craft scrolls. And this one allows you to just take one of these 3 types of feats, which is not great. A wizard has all the spells minus Read Magic, or wizard can prepare Read Magic for free. Wizard only knows a certain number of spells in their spell book equal to their 2 plus their intelligence modifier. 3 plus their intelligence modifier. So you can have up to 8 starting at 1st level. And you get 2 new spells every single level. Put in your spell book. And then there's the Abjuration. And then you get Arcane Schools, which gives you special powers based off of your Arcane School. But you also have to take Opposition Schools, noticing that you focused your studies. So you have to choose 2 where you take more spell slots. But in return, you get an additional spell slot that you can use to prepare those specific spells. I'm really not going to go over all of these, because all of these effectively change the way that you play your wizard. Abjuration is more of a defensive-focused wizard. Conjuration focuses on summoning monsters and teleporting and creating objects. Diviners are effectively really are not the same. They're effectively really good at going first. They effectively always go first, kind of situations. At least most of the time they always go first. There's also Enchantment, which effectively turns your wizard into a face, which isn't always the best thing in the world, but hey, you got the option. Evocation, your blaster wizards, making evocation spells way stronger, giving yourself a small force-like ability. They can be used a certain number of times per day, and then just creating Wall of Fire or Wall of Acid, Cold, or Electricity. Effectively once per day. I think this is only once per day. Rounds need not be. No, you can just effectively use it for 1 round each turn if you wanted to. There's illusion, which is really good at just fooling your foes. There's necromancy. Everyone knows about necromancy. It's not the best thing in the world, but hey, it works. Transmutation, focused on polymorph and buffing up buffs. Then there's universal, which just effectively means you just don't take a specialization. And you get a few cool abilities, such as the Metamagic Adept, Metamagic Mastery, which allows you to apply 1 Metamagic Feat on your spells once per day when you get it, and then another few times per day. It's actually pretty good. It's not the best thing in the world, but it is pretty good. And then here are the familiars. You can pick up these familiars, and each familiar actually gives you a bonus depending on what you pick. I would say that the best one is up to you. These aren't actually all of them either. These are only a select few that's in this book specifically. Probably out of this, taking something like Weasel or Rat is actually really nice because these 2 saves are your worst saves. But you can take any of these. Any of these can make you really good. Owl is also a really good one because Perception in Shadows or Darkness is nice. There's also the Familiar Basics, which there's a whole list on what familiars get. If you take a familiar, you get Alertness. The familiar gets improved evasion, share spells, empathic link. They can deliver your touch spells for you. They can speak with master, speak with animals of its kind, spell resistance, and scry on familiar, which just makes it a little bit tankier. It tends to have a really high natural armor. It also does get an intelligence score, which effectively means that it can make intelligence rolls. But it doesn't really get any stronger. It uses either yours or its base attack bonus. But it uses its dexterity or strength modifier, whichever is greater, to calculate the familiar's melee attack bonus with natural weapons. Damage requires that of a normal creature of the familiar's kind. It just doesn't get any higher. It uses either base save for the familiar or it uses yours. It uses your skill ranks, but it only makes these class skills, which isn't great. And it also only has half the normal hit points that you do. So it's not the best thing in the world, and if it dies, you have to spend a lot of time getting it back. It costs a lot of money to get a familiar back. Let me just get to the right section on the Arcane Bond. Where is the Arcane Bond? Arcane Bond, where was it? Here it is. If an object is damaged, it can be replaced after 1 week in a potential ritual, 200 gold pieces per wizard level, and plus the cost of a masterwork item. The familiar is the same way. Let's see here. Where's the familiar one? Where is it? Most for the familiar appears on page 82. Okay, so I have to go back to page 82. Because it's in here somewhere. Familiar! There it is. If a familiar is dismissed, lost, or dies, it can be replaced within 1 week later from a specialized ritual that costs 200 gold pieces per level. So you effectively have to wait 1 week in order to get a new familiar. The same thing with animal companions. You have to wait a whole week to get a new animal companion. So you really don't want your animal companion or your familiar to die. Armor with somatic spells with somatic components are subject to arcane spell failure, which just means that wearing armor incurs a percentage chance to fail using that spell if they have a somatic component. Skills. There's a lot of skills. This is just the basic ones. Untrained, trained, trained class skills. So this just shows what it is that you can do with them. The armor check penalty applies to all strength and dex-based skills. Let's see here. So acrobatics, which is used for jumping, going across tight ledges. I know it sounds weird that acrobatics is used for jumping, but it is. Tumbling. Yeah, here it is. Long jumping. high jumping. There's also a few other things that modify it. There's a praise, which just determines the item of something. Bluff is lying, lying and fainting in combat. So that's effectively how or also is giving secret messages. Climb, self-explanatory. Climbing, crafting, self-explanatory. But craft is also one of those where you take specific. You have to take a specific craft, like alchemy, armor, baskets, like specific items. Where if you take craft armor, you can craft armor. If you take craft weapons, you can craft weapons, craft traps. Stonemasonry. Effectively in 5th edition, these would be your tool proficiencies. Along with another skill in here. Another 2 skills in here. So you can make specific items, and they vary depending on that, and their crafting DC is here. As well as like the armor DC and all that, but it takes forever to make items. It just does. I don't know why it does. It just takes forever. Diplomacy is effectively persuasion, as well as get your subject to gathering information, which can be used. And you can also like do a whole bunch of this other stuff too, which is when giving a request, you can get a whole bunch of stuff. So. Oh, this actually just increases the DC. It's a flat DC based off of one of these. I don't know why it's based off of the charisma modifier, but I guess that's just to presume that you're harder to anything else. Disable devices for disarming traps and unlocking locks. So, the base DC is 20, which is really high for things like disable device. That's just for a simple, like, lock. So locks are like really hard to actually disable at level 1, and they just get easier to disable as the higher you go, especially if you're playing a rogue. The rogue effectively has the highest chance to just disable traps and locks, so they're the best ones at it. Technically, you can try again if you really wanted to, but there's really no point. Disguise kit allows you to effectively make yourself look different. Let's see here. There's the escape artist, which just allows you to get out of things, such as rope and bindings, which is the binder's CMB plus 20. So effectively, if you can't get over a 21 for most characters, you're effectively not getting out of bindings. You can actually use escape artist to also get out of grapples, which is nice. There's also flying, which I think is covered in acrobatics in some of the other editions, but it just allows you to fly better. Can't be considered flat-footed while flying. Collisions can happen while in the air. There's also avoiding fall damage. High wind speeds. Leg technically doesn't require an action, but movement does. So, and depending on your size, also changes the easiness to fly and also the easiness to stealth. And this is just other things that happen. Handle animal. It's a charisma-based skill. You can use it to handle an animal, push it to do something, teach an animal a trick, train an animal for a general purpose, and rear a wild animal. Push an animal effectively makes it do something that it's not capable of with a trick. So, effectively, if you can beat a DC 25, you can effectively make a creature do anything with that specific skill or trick, so you don't really need it to have any higher skill, if you have a higher enough, any of that. I think we're done with Animal Companion. There's Heal, which is like medicine, except you can actually heal deadly wounds. Provide first aid, which stabilizes a creature. Long-term care, which gives them more wounds. Treat wounds from cattle trops, spike growths, or spike stones, effectively just reducing the penalty to walking. Treat deadly wounds. Treat poison. Treat diseases. That sort of stuff. And each of these have a specific time frame, too. And, of course, we have Intimidate, which allows you to effectively coerce a target to be friendly towards you for a while. Or you can use it to shaken opponents. It usually takes 1 minute of conversation, while demoralizing is a standard action. And also, if you're bigger than the target, you get a bonus. If you're smaller than the target, you get a penalty. And half-orcs get a +2 bonus by default. Knowledges, based off of which knowledge you pick, based off of some specific things, such as you can use Arcane to identify constructs, dragons, and magical beasts. Dungeoneering is aberrations and oozes. Engineering is technologically based things, depending on campaign. This one may not come up that often. Geography is also based on campaign. It may not come up that often. History, also based on campaign. Local, humanoids, really good because giants are considered humanoid in this system. Nature, animal, fae, monsters, humanoids, plants, and vermin, which are like a lot of the enemies. Nobility, depends on campaign. Planes, all outsiders fall under this category. So you'll want it at some point. And religion is undead, as well as gods and goddesses and other stuff like that. And it does state here that in general, the DC of such check equals 10 plus the monster's CR. For common monsters such as goblins, the DC of that check equals 5 plus the monster's CR. So, and then rare monsters such as the Taras, the DC of this check equals 15 plus the monster's CR or more. Successful check allows you to remember a bit of useful information about the monster. For every 5 by which you results exceed the DC, you recall another piece of useful information. So yeah, you can use this skill to identify monsters and their special abilities or vulnerabilities. Usually no, in which case a knowledge check doesn't take an action, but see untrained below. You can make a knowledge check untrained, but it only gets up to a DC 10. So linguistics, it effectively allows you to learn new languages as well as detect languages and write forgeries and stuff like that. And here's the knowledge skill DCs. Arcana can be useful for identifying auras, identifying a spell that isn't a spell effect in place, details manufactured by a magic, identifying a spell that just targeted you, by a spell casting. Even though spellcraft technically... Oh, I actually didn't realize you could use Arcana to identify a spell that just targeted you. Define the spell cast using a specific material component. Didn't know that. Spell that you just targeted you, which is nice. Yeah, you can... whenever you put a rank to this, you learn to speak and read a new language. And here's all the common languages. This one you cannot learn because it's druids only. Ciphering a pay, it depends. So you're trying to use this skill, but you can always attempt to read archaic or in strange forms of your own racial bonus languages. In addition, you can always attempt to detect a forgery. Perception, one of the most rolled skills in the game. A lot of people will say you should have perception because a lot of the game kind of just revolves around perception being kind of, since it's a lot of stuff all wrapped up into one, it's kind of just required to roll. And at least have some form of ranks in it. There's perform, which is the perform skill, but you get to do all of these things. It's technically perform in this game is perform plus using a musical instrument, which, because depending on the performance, depends on which one you're proficient in. Do note that depending on your GM may state that some instruments are considered different. Discuss with your GM if there's a instrument you wish your character to know, but you don't have access to or you think should fall in a different category. Then there's profession, which is your other side of the... These are effectively your professions, what you are good at. Ways to make money kind of situation, as well as Other things like that. Like, these are your artisan skills as well. Craft is also artisan, but, like, there's 3 different artisan skills, effectively. Ride, pretty self-explanatory. What's used in order to not fall when mounted combat comes into play and all that stuff. And some feats is prerequisite for a lot of these feats in order for them to work. Sense motive, effectively trying to discern if a character is lying, but it's usually if the character is lying against you, it's versus sense motive. If not, then it's a different story. I don't really know how to discuss it. Sleight of hand, pickpocketing, drawing hidden weapons, that sort of stuff. It's one of those, like, more useful depending on campaign. And I'll say this. A lot of these are actually useful depending on campaign. You can also use it to technically make money if you wanted to, depending on how your GM sees things. Spellcraft, identifying magic items, crafting magic items, as well as detecting when a spell is being cast, which is the useful thing for spellcraft. It's also useful for deciphering a scroll, craft a magic item, prepare a spell from a borrowed spellbook if you're a wizard. This is really the only useful thing for a wizard, and this is the only thing that's useful for a wizard too. 2 of these are only useful for wizards. So yeah. There's stealth, which is useful. It's effectively how you think stealth works. You can actually snipe from stealth. You do take a massive penalty when doing that, as well as you can technically attempt to get a bonus or try to sneak away with a diversion. Which requires you to use a bluff. You can use bluff to allow you to use stealth. The successful bluff check opposed by your viewer sense motive can give you a momentary diversion. Survival, self-explanatory. This is how you can effectively make sure that people aren't starving when they travel. That sort of stuff. So, as well as tracking opponents and tracking enemies, tracking creatures, that sort of thing. Swim, it's self-explanatory. How well you can swim in the specific waters. And then there's also use magic device, which is the way that people who normally can't cast magic or can't cast spells in a specific spell list, how they cast those spells. And I am going to go ahead and let you know that a lot of the spells, if you are proficient and use magic device, you will notice that it is still hard to cast some of these items, especially if you're trying to cast a scroll. Because sometimes you have to emulate the ability score. You have to make multiple use magic device checks. Which is just the use magic device check is made part of the action if any required to activate the magic item. So you might have to use in order to use some magic items. You have to emulate your alignment. So if you are on alignment of your choice, you can emulate only one alignment at a time. Emulate an ability score, which is effectively just result of minus 15. So in order to emulate an ability score of, say, 19, you need to get a 34 or higher on your UMD check. Which is something that a lot of people don't realize, is that you have to make multiple checks in order for this to work. It's either multiple checks or it's encompassed in the same check. I think I'd probably just encompass it in the same check, and if you failed, you failed. If not, you didn't. So, as well as emulating a class feature, emulating a race, using a scroll, which is the hard part. In addition, casting a spell from a scroll requires a minimum score of 10 plus spell level and the appropriate ability. If you don't have a sufficient score in that ability, you must emulate the ability score with a separate... Oh, it requires a separate UMD check. And this is really the only one for scrolls. When using wands, staves, or other spell trigger items, you don't need to use the other one. It's only for scrolls. Although UMD effectively does allow you to wield some specific weapons if you emulate your alignment to be completely opposite of what you are, which can work for very specific items. You can take 10 with these skills. You can't aid another on use magic device, and only the user of the item may attempt such a check. And then magic aptitude just gives you a higher bonus on UMD. Feats! The one place everybody was wondering. These things, there's a lot of feats. There's combat feats, critical feats, item creation feats, meta magic feats. And then just general feats, which is every other feat. There are feats that increase skill bonuses. There are feats that allow you to do some pretty nifty things, such as ignoring difficult terrain. So, effectively ignoring up to 15 feet of difficult terrain. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Some feats are only required, can only be taken by fighters, as you can see. Disruptive, 6th level fighter, 10th level fighter, combat expertise, trade attack bonus for AC. This is just the general what these feats do. The only reason why I'm not going to go into every single feat is just because, and why I'm going through it quickly is that many of these feats you would need to read and then like figure out what it is you want to build, and I could give you a recommendation. You don't have to take anything if you didn't want to. But yeah. Dodge, mobility, spring attack, wind dance, lightning dance, which actually I didn't even realize you could do that. I'm gonna have to remember that for wind stance and lightning stance the next time that I do something like that. Which effectively just gives concealment for free. Wait. Hold on, I have to read this. I need to go to wind stance, which is all the way at the bottom. Because it might say something like, no. More than 5 feet in this turn, you gain 20% concealment for 1 round against range attack. Oh, it's against ranged attacks? Huh. And lightning stance is it also against ranged? Is it all versus ranged attacks? I think it is. If you take 2 actions to move or withdraw action in a turn, you gain 50% concealment for 1 round. Not too bad. That's actually not bad at all. Unless the enemy has an ability to overcome concealment, which not a lot of enemies do. Now that I think about it. You can actually get that really early, too. There's weapon specialization, which just gives you a bonus to damage. Do note, there are some feats in here that are like, +1 to attack, +2 to damage. And those are all fighter feats. Most of them are fighter feats, except for weapon focus. Weapon focus is the only one that is not a fighter feat. And it only gives a +1 attack rolls with made using the select weapon. You can choose Unarmed Striker, Grapple, or Ray if you're a spellcaster as your weapon for the purposes of this feat. So, yeah. There are feats in here that are like, why would I ever take that feat? But you get a lot of feats. Like, that's the thing, is that you get a lot of feats. And you can build a character that does just about anything. In Pathfinder 1st Edition. If you really wanted to, you could do it. It might take a while in order to actually build it, but you could do it. And then we get to the wonderful part of equipment. And effectively, what all classes get for their average. You'll notice that not all of them are an even number, even though you only get times 10. That's just because of some of these are odd, so they get a 0.5 over the usual. And Monk actually gets the least amount at 35 gold pieces. Monk doesn't need a lot. Maybe they'll buy a weapon, and that's about it, because that's really all they need. Plus all, like, the normal equipment stuff that you would normally need. And these are all the weapons. If you notice, there's a lot of weapons in here. You'll also notice that unarmed attacks and gauntlets actually do damage of some kind. And there's also this non-lethal trait. All weapons effectively do damage, and only very select few weapons do non-lethal damage. And you'll notice that some of these have a 19 to 20 times 2, which means they crit on a 19 or a 20. They have a critical threat on a 19 or 20 times 2. Some of them do triple the more normal damage. Some of these actually do quadruple the normal damage. On a critical hit. And some of these crit on an 18 to 20. So, like, not all of these are great. And some of these have special abilities such as Disarm, Monk, Trip. Just means that they're better at doing those specific combat maneuvers. Brace is a special one. Reach, it just means that they have reach. There's a bunch of stuff in here. And I could easily go through every single one, read every single one, and then you'd be like, oh my god, why is there so many things to do? I'm like, yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot you can do. And I'm not going to say that you can or can't do it. But if you want to build towards a very specific weapon, you can. And we'll be back. Alrighty. Welcome back, everyone. Okay. So, yeah. Lots of weapons. Lots of things that you can actually, build towards. There's also masterwork weapons, which just effectively gives you a +1 enhancement bonus on attack rolls. Armor. It's armor. If you'll notice, I'll go ahead and just go to the armors. You'll notice that every armor gets a dex bonus, except for, like, 2, which is this one and this one. Even your full plate gives you a bonus to dex. So honestly, if you're going to be using dex-based armor, you probably want at least a +1 or at least a +3 in your dex score. Then you've got your tower shield, which also limits your, which if you notice, there's actually 3 different types of shield. Well, there's technically like 5 different types of shields, but we won't go there. There's the buckler, the light shield, and then the heavy shield, and then the tower shield. Which effectively means that if you add all these together, you get a pretty high, chunky AC. That's not really going to help you out against most things. Tower shield can be used for special things. A lot of these just give very specific things. Shield spikes just effectively increases your shield damage die. Masterwork armor just reduces the armor check penalty by 1. There's also special materials, which I don't think are... I think they're in this book somewhere. There's armor for unusual creatures, which you can easily see is right here. Your mount is going to cost a lot of money in order to get armor and weapons. There's also getting into and out of armor, which is just a rule that people usually don't use. Here's the special materials. Each one does something very different. Adamantine gives you DR, which is nice. It also can be made with weapons. Darkwood, armor with it, just reduces the armor check penalty. Dragonhide, which allows druids to effectively wear armor. That's pretty much all that it really does. It also technically increases the cost, lessens the cost for using energy in protection from energy with that specific energy type. Cold Iron, useful against devils and fae. Also costs more. Mithril, silver-based weapons, useful against werewolves, demons. I think that's it. Then there's another creature that's also weak to silver, but I don't remember. Mithril also reduces the weight of any armor or weapon or shield by half, as well as decreases the shield, armor or shield made with Mithril or decreases by 10% for the spell failure chance. Maximum dex bonus increases by 2. Armor check penalty decreases by 3, which already includes the masterwork price, I believe, but I'm not 100% certain. Mithril weapons count as silver for the purpose of overcoming damage reduction, which is nice. And then there's alchemical silver, which you can use on anything and count as silver weapons, but they do take a -1 penalty to damage rolls. Not great. But if you need it in a pinch, it's great because it's cheap. Then there's your adventuring gear, which just depends on campaign. All of these are based on campaign if you're going to need them or not. I'll go ahead and let you know the basic things you're probably going to want. You're going to want a backpack, a bedroll, and rations. Everything else, flavor, depends on campaign, if you're going to need it or not. So pick wisely. And remember to always ask your GM if specific items are going to come in handy later down the line. You may also want like a fit and steal some torches, but that's just like sometimes common decency. But yeah. So you also get a pair of clothing for free at first level. Anything that's below 10 gold pieces or 10 gold pieces or less. Out of all of these, if you want like the most mechanically sound one, I would actually recommend grabbing the cold weather outfit. Because there's no penalty to wearing a cold weather outfit in a very hot environment. Unless the GM's using different rulings, but that's up to you. If you have a mount, getting a saddle is going to be pretty expensive. These are just general item foods. And a lot of this stuff on here is hard to, like, get. It's funny how a donkey or a mule is actually, like, cheaper than a pony. Even though a donkey or a mule actually uses the pony stat block. These are alchemical items. They're useful for very specific things. Oh, if you're playing a spellcaster, you're gonna want this. The spell component pouch. So anything that without a cost, you effectively get this, and you don't have to worry about it. Your sorcerer is really the only character that doesn't need to grab this, but every other character does. Your wizards, your clerics, your druids. Although I think druids, many of them just need their divine focus, which depends on the druid. Rangers and paladins will need a spell component pouch at some point. And other classes will also need a spell component pouch when we potentially discuss those classes. If you're playing a character with disabled device as a skill, you're gonna need thieves' tools. There's also a musical instrument in here somewhere. Yeah, so you need a musical instrument in order to just use this, like 4 of the specific perform skills, or 5 of the specific perform skills, depending. Outfits. This is the one if you're like for exposure to cold. Like so, if you're going in a cold environment, you're gonna want a cold weather outfit. Although many of these other things, so yeah. There's a whole bunch of other stuff in here. Let's see here. Food, mounts, and related gear. Yeah, donkey and mule. Unlike a horse, a donkey or a mule is willing, but not eager to enter dungeons and other stranger threatening places. So technically you could just pull in a donkey into your dungeons. Transport, which is just like, I think it's for like a day or a week. I don't remember. There's also services. So you can like buy, you can technically pay for hirelings if you really wanted to. Later down the line. Additional rules. These are all like random rules. There's the alignment stuff. 9 alignments. Gives you a good description of each alignment. I'm not going to read these because it really depends on how you feel. If you're gonna, I'll say this: if you're gonna play an evil character, don't be a complete dick about it. There's also vital statistics like age. Do note, age is actually important in this game because age actually incurs penalties and bonuses. Although, if you don't want to play with age, you could just remove this feature. You could easily just remove the age feature if you really wanted to. You do not have to play a game with age in mind. You could remove it. It's not probably the easiest thing to do. It's actually one of like the easier rules to just get rid of. You just say age doesn't matter. You do not get a penalty or a bonus when you age up. Does mean that some of the technically some of the abilities don't matter, but you could easily like change those around to actually function how you would think they would, rather than what they do function like. Or just remove them completely and try to give them something else that would be beneficial in those. The main one is like Druid. Druid is the only main one that I can think of. Here's like, you can technically randomize everything that you wanted to. You can roll these separately if you wanted to. When you're encumbered, your speed gets reduced by 1/3. Rounded to the nearest 5-foot increment. Rounded up to the nearest 5-foot increment, I believe. And then you have a whole bunch of other stuff. Tactical movement. Then you have your carrying capacity, which this one you could also technically ignore if you wanted to, but since it really applies to a few things, I would probably not ignore this. Because encumbrance does have effects. You could technically say, oh, we're just going to ignore the encumbrance effects minus the speed if you wanted to. You could do that. That's up to you. Remember, there's a whole bunch of stuff in here you can just flat out ignore if you wanted to. If you think that overland movement is clunky, you can change it. You can change it however you wanted to. You can change how light works, although dark vision is actually more important because not every race gets dark vision now. Like, I had this thing about 5th edition where literally every single core rulebook race -3 get dark vision. 3 do not get dark vision. Human, Dragonborn, and Halfling do not get dark vision. All of the other ones do. So, I don't know. It feels weird. Feels very weird. Bring back the low light vision. Oh. And then we're still in the additional. There's breaking objects. There's actually rules for breaking objects. Do you know you could also steal some of these if you really wanted to too? There's nothing about like not stealing anything. Like if you don't know how to like check to break something, you can change it. I do not like that these DCs are like, well, I don't mind that these DCs are really high. I don't think they really should be a strength DC. But there's no real skill associated with this. You technically could just say roll an attack roll, add your strength. Instead, you could do that if you wanted to. If you wanted to make breaking things a little bit easier. Technically, you could also just attack a thing. Larger and smaller creatures get a size bonus. Yeah, so medium, you don't get a bonus, but if you're large or huge... Oh, I didn't even realize that. If you're bigger, you do get a bonus to breaking objects. Good to know. And then there's combat, which we just looked at combat. And there's a whole bunch of rules in combat. There's a lot of things in combat that, like, you don't have to always know. This one's actually a really good example of, like, how attacks of opportunity work. Because moving to here will provoke. Moving to here does not provoke from the goblin. If this movement provokes from both of these guys, I believe. Sione moves away using a withdrawal action. The first, yeah, withdrawing. This one provokes from the ogre because the ogre has a 10-foot reach. Which I don't know if reach exists in Pathfinder in 5th edition for bigger monsters. Feels weird, but it's a thing. Range attacks, natural attacks, a whole bunch of stuff. There's a lot of stuff in here, especially what all provokes and what doesn't. Hey, Gerudo King, how's it going? There's a lot of stuff in here. Lots of things in here. What provokes, what doesn't, what's considered an action, what's not considered an action, what you can do during your turn, what you can't do during your turn. There's a bunch of stuff. Very first amiibo today? Nice. What'd you get? What'd you get for your amiibo? So here's one thing that a lot of people forget. Using a spell completion item or activating magic item other than a potion or oil. No. Casting a spell. Yes. Adding another depends. Where is it? Where is it? Twilight Princess Wolflink. Nice. That was probably a pretty penny. Where is... Reading a scroll. Yes. Ready triggers a standard action. Concentrate to maintain an active spell. Oh, I did not know that that did not cost anything. Okay. Dismiss a spell. No. $15? Oh, never mind. Surprising. Drink a potion or apply an oil. Draw a hidden weapon. Attacking via range and an unarmed strike. Do. Aid another. Light towards the tender twig. Hang on. I'm trying to use an extraordinary ability. Use a skill that takes one action, usually. Use a spell-like ability. There it is. Where is the activating a magic item? Activating a magic item. Usually it's in here, but apparently it's not in here. Oh, it's activating a magic item other than a potion or oil. But I think in here... activating a spell completion item is the equivalent of casting a spell, which provokes. I'm actually really surprised it was only $15. Not gonna lie. $15 on something like that? I'm like, damn, you got that for a steal. I think we're in the magic. We're about to get into the magic section. Still in combat. There's a lot of stuff that you can do. There's a lot of random rules in here. And many of these rules will probably never come up in a campaign, depending on specific things. Rules that are very complicated. Grappling is a very complicated rule. So is mounted combat. Mounted combat is a very complicated rule. I don't know why mounted combat is a very complicated rule. It just is. It's very clunky on how it technically works. How much is the amiibo normally? I have no idea. It's probably like, because the game that amiibo comes with is no longer in production because it came out during Twilight Princess. It's probably going for normally like $100 probably. I don't know. I just know for certain that amiibo is no longer in production. It might be. I'd have to, you know what? Let me do a thing. Say hello. Twilight Princess amiibo. What is it? Wolf Link amiibo. Is this still in production? Oh, never mind. They must still be oh. Never mind. It's actually going for $16 on... Okay, never mind. Nintendo's still making it. If you get the one... If you get the... I think it's the game plus the amiibo is what's costing like $100. That's what it is. $16. It's actually $16 on Nintendo's website right now. So you actually got it for like $1 cheaper. Bunch of stuff here. Bunch of stuff that only really comes up once, like, you really need to worry about it. Bunch of other stuff, bunch of other stuff, bunch of lot of stuff, bunch of lot of stuff. Non-lethal damage is technically different than lethal damage. We won't get into it because it's just, there is a lot of shit. Or there being a pack with the amiibo in the game. Yeah, I think the game plus the pack are going for a lot of money because the game is no longer in production. That might be where I got it wrong. There's also things about cover and stuff like that, so. There's also a whole bunch of stuff about sizing and flanking and a whole bunch of other stuff in here that, in my honest opinion, a lot of these rules are literally probably have some neat use on the Switch version of Twilight Princess if Nintendo made one already. It does have so the Wolf Link amiibo has a use in Breath of the Wild. Okay. There's a bunch of rules in here, and there's a lot of rules, and I would go into all of them, but yeah. Grappling is one of the most convoluted rules because if we're okay, so here's where grapple starts. Still going. Still going. This is when grapple ends. It's literally a whole page. It's a whole page of rules. There's overrun and sunder and trip and all that. Know of that use in the cool paraglider design on Tears of the Kingdom. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I completely forgot about that. There's fainting and there's things you can do in combat, and that's the one thing that like a lot of people don't realize, that there's more to do in Pathfinder First Edition. If you wanted to make your characters versatile, you can do it. And we're actually I think we're at the point where there's magic and we can go over every single spell if we really wanted to. I'm not going to, because this is probably already the most boring thing that you guys have probably seen, and I'm just scrolling through these, and it's like, if you've played Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition, you already know a lot of this. Oh, here's a whole bunch of the other stuff, too. Like, these are actually useful things to know. Radius spells have to always be on a corner if it's a radius spell. Cones go in very specific ways, as you can see, and then lines. So, yeah. And a whole bunch of other stuff. Hey, look, Ezrin's back. Arcane spells and their failure chances. Arcane writings. If you're a wizard, you can copy down scrolls using money. Money, 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 money. Divine spells. Oh. I didn't know he was in here. I completely forgot that he was in this book. Spoiler. And then here's Bard spells. A lot of these spells are... There's a lot of spells. There's a lot of spells. And these aren't even the full list of spells that, like, these classes get access to. I'm just skipping all of these because I really don't want to deal with them. We're gonna go to the prestige classes section. So prestige classes in first edition in first edition Pathfinder, not height. We want width. Prestige classes are effectively classes that have requirements to get into them, and we're going to go ahead and start with the first one, which is Arcane Archer. It used to be, I believe in 3.5, Arcane Archer is actually limited to Elf and Half-Elf, I believe. So, this is a buff. You effectively just get special arrows, and you get a little bit more spell casting. And your BAB tends to go up a little bit more. Up to you on how you want to play that character. There's Arcane Trickster, which does get a little bit lower on the hit die, and yeah, but gets full casting. You do. Oop, I hate the way that Adobe Acrobat has done a bunch of these things. So Arcane Trickster, I believe in 5th edition, is a archetype of rogue. Instead, it's a rogue, wizard, or sorcerer hybrid class, effectively. There's Assassin, which is, again, another... Many of the prestige classes that exist in in Pathfinder and 3.5 effectively were turned into archetypes in 5th edition. I think one of the requirements for Assassin is literally the character must kill someone for no other reason than to become an assassin. Selfish. Must be selfish. There's Dragon Disciple, which is just effectively a beefed up version of the Sorcerer Dragon. More revolved around, like, being a melee combatant over a non-melee combatant. Technically, I believe this was meant for Bard in 3.5. It's meant to be like a tankier Bard more than anything else, but that's pretty much it. There's Duelist, which is more revolved around, like, parrying and being that annoying character that can just parry people. Which you can actually build towards, too. Like, a lot of these classes, a lot of these prestige classes you can build towards. There's the Eldritch Knight, which, hey, look, another prestige class that was turned into an archetype in 5th edition. Martial and spellcasting, all wrapped up into one. Oh, look, there's that guy. We have the Lore Master. Yeah, Lore Master. And he casts 7 different divine spells, one of which must be 3rd level or higher. I actually don't remember why this exists, but in my honest opinion, it should just say the ability to cast 7th level divine spells. Just doesn't. It's very confusing. It is very confusing. That's because I'm rushing through this because a lot of this is, like, you don't need to know all of this to play the game. All you need is somebody who knows how to play the game, or you guys kind of just learn it together. This game can be very complicated, but I just want to get through this part because these are just things that you can do, such as Mystic Theurge. You can pretty much play a character that is able to cast both divine and arcane spells without issue. Pathfinder Chronicler, also better known as just the Chronicler, just effectively another spellcaster. So, yeah. I think they're a spellcaster. Yeah, they're a spellcaster. There's the Shadow Dancer, which I believe is actually more useful for bards, but I'm not sure. Cast divine and arcane spells without issue in Elden Ring. This is a TTRPG. You are limited to one class. His abilities. Well, not really. You're limited to what your character can do. And then there's game mastering, which I'm not going to get into because it's just going to go over some of the same stuff. That's effectively just the core rulebook. And I'm actually going to do this because... Oops. Lower that. Let me get something up and running real quick. Because I'm going to go ahead and go over how to build a character in in Pathfinder 1st Edition. I'm going to show you just how easy it is to build a character if your GM is nice and uses a VTT. Let me just make sure that I put in the right password. Okay. I have a whole bunch of stuff in here. I ran the Scarlet Sun and Weeby Goblins at some point. And I have a two-way beginner's box stuff, but that's besides the point. This one actually have a lot of characters in it. My long break from Tears of the King, I figure out how beautiful the depths really are. Yeah, they're not that bad. So you'll note I use this to do a whole bunch of stuff. We're gonna make a new character, and I'm just gonna call it character creator because it's easier. So first, what we're gonna do is this is what Foundry looks like, and this is what's used in for Foundry's character sheet. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here, but first, we're going to figure out what is it that we want to play. What would we like to build? I'm going to ask that question, and I'm going to leave it up to you guys, and if you guys don't answer me in enough time on what it is that we want to build, I will pick for you guys. But what is it that you guys want to see me build? A level 1 character. What do you want? What do you want me? I need a concept. What concept would you like me to build towards? What sort of fantasy character would you like me to build towards? If you guys have any preference. You may not, and that's okay. If not, then I'll see what I can do. I'm actually going to do one thing real quick. What species are at our disposal? We'll see. The core rulebook species. If I open the core rulebook. We're gonna stay to the core rulebook. So let me go all the way back up to races because that's what they're called in this, and we're gonna quickly go over this. Races. You got dwarves, elves, gnomes, half-elves, half-orcs, halflings, and humans. Do note, technically races aren't going to be too much of a big deal, but we'll see. We have either a male lizard guy or female elf. A swashbuckling pirate. That we can do. Alrighty. So, let's see here. So, we're going to do a swashbuckling pirate. I don't think race is going to matter on this particular one, but we'll see. I think we can use just about any class to do this. Actually, let me check some things because I think I've got some some optional rules installed. Hang on. Let me turn those off. Let me turn some optional rules off because it's just going to confuse the ever-living crap out of you guys. Configure health. Okay, we're just going to go by some default rules. So, swashbuckling rogue, or swashbuckling pirate. We can do just about any class for this. I think the one that many people are probably expecting is something like rogue. We can easily do that with rogue. So we'll go ahead and build a rogue. So I could do the traditional way of rolling stats, which is 4d6, drop the lowest, but I'm not going to do that because that revolves a lot of randomness. So we're going to make things consistent. I'm going to go ahead and mention I have a bunch of stuff installed in here, and you're going to see, oh my god, those are a lot of classes. Do not worry, many of these you're not going to worry about. Classes, and a lot of these are extra classes. We're going to ignore all of these. We're going to pick up Rogue. This is going to be our favorite class. We're going to click hit point because we're going to want some hit points. So we're going to pick Rogue because I believe that's the one that a lot of people are used to seeing as a character like this. Technically, we could build this Rogue however we wish. We're going to use the traditional high fantasy, which is a 20-point buy. Many people would actually state that you could really build any rogue that you wanted to. But we're going to go ahead and at least pump some points into some specific stats because they're kind of required. You could do this. This is actually kind of like a pretty standard rogue. Now the question is, do I want to dump strength? I think we're going to dump strength. There's a reason why we're going to dump strength. Actually, I don't want to dump it that hard. We want a little bit of charisma. We want a little bit of wisdom, and we'll go ahead and take some intelligence for this. Can we dump this further? No. I think having it at 18 is probably going to be our... If I dump charisma to 12 and this to 7, I could get this up to 17, but I really don't want to do that. There's really no point in bumping this up any higher. I think we'll stick to 17. Okay. So we're going to go with these stats, 8, 16, 14, 13, 12, 12, before we do anything else. Technically, I could show you guys just how high I can make this. I need to bump one more thing down. Normally, I wouldn't want to take that down. We're going to take... Actually, could do that. It's not going to be too bad. And I'm actually going to pick a very specific race. We're gonna pick elf for this character. So elf. Reason why we picked elf is that elf gets a +2 to dexterity, a +2 to intelligence, but it takes a -2 to constitution, so our con's gonna be 12. Just gonna have to deal with it. It also gives us some extra things, like it actually gives us access to short bows, short swords, long bows, and long swords. Something that a rogue's not normally proficient with. Drow are their own race. They're around here. There's Drow. They're their own race in this. We're picking elf. Also, technically in 2nd edition, Drow no longer exist. So technically on Golarion, Drow don't exist in the current canon. Drow just do not exist. And this is the character we're going to build. There's a reason why we got 13 in intelligence. And that's for a very specific reason. Oh, I saw background skills turned on. Whoopsies. Let me turn that off. Thought I turned that off, but apparently I forgot to push save. Red or brown. I mean, we can make it that way. Do note that I'm going through, like, that's like surface level stuff. Stuff that you can figure out when the time comes. I've only got one specific feat that I need to pick up in not that. We're going to pick up weapon finesse because we need it. Weapon finesse is kind of required for this character. Things that we want our rogue to do. I would say that we want our rogue to be pretty proficient in stealth, sleight of hand. We'll actually give him, since we said swashbuckler, we'll give him profession sailor as a profession. We'll actually give them a good, let's do that. Let's go ahead and put a point in disabled device. Let's put a point into bluff, acrobatics, climb, and swim. Sounds like some good things to know as a swashbuckling rogue, right? Oh, actually, and we also get another language. We get a language of our choice. Oh, let me check something. What's the languages that we can learn? We'll just learn Draconic for fun. For funsies. There we go. So yeah, so some swashbuckler type things. Depending on this is also going off the core rulebook, so we don't get a whole lot of stuff. We get trap finding and sneak attack, and we took weapon finesse as our feat. We only get 1 feat. We're almost done. And it's actually literally almost done for this character. The only thing we need to do is get armor and weapons, which is based off of our class. Which for this, it's 4d6 plus times 10, which is 140 gold pieces, I think. Let me check. Let's go to equipment. Wealth. For rogue, yeah, 140 gold pieces. So we have 140 gold pieces to spend. This is average. Sorry, it would be cool if that's an option. Scimitars are not finesse weapons. Sadly, this swashbuckler, I think technically there's a way to make it work, but I didn't put ranks into it. Give me 1 second. Let me check something. I don't think scimitars are finesse weapons. Technically there is the cutlass, but I don't think the cutlass is also, like, let me, let's do some research. Equipment, weapons, martial. Those are martial weapons. Cutlass. It's a one-handed weapon. Wah wah. Straight as for any effects that apply to scimitars. So there is the cutlass, but sadly, our rogue is not proficient with cutlasses. Later down the line, we can make them proficient with cutlasses, but there's let me check a specific feat. Where did this come from? Oh, Enter Sea World Guide. Yeah, that ain't happening anytime soon. Technically, we could do this if we put 2 ranks and we get proficiency with scimitars, which does work. But we're gonna ignore it. Here's the reason. Just because we're a duelist does not mean that just because we're a swashbuckling rogue does not mean that we can't be proficient in something else. Technically, if we wanted to instead, we could technically be a different type of rogue. If we wanted to be proficient with the scimitar or any weapon that the scimitar is associated with, we could do that. There is an option to do that. It's not the easiest option to do. It's honestly one of the harder options to do because we could technically go a strength-based rogue. If we wanted to, we could go strength-based. Now, a lot of people will be like, why would you go strength-based? Because you can. You can do it. Sneak attack. If we'll go back to rogue and you'll see that you can do this in this version. So let's go back to rogue. Class features. Let's go back to sneak attack. Is there anything in this that states that it needs to be a specific sneak attack? If a rogue can catch an opponent when he is unable to defend himself effectively from her attack, she can strike a vital spot for extra damage. The rogue attacks deal extra damage anytime her target would be denied a dexterity bonus to AC, whether the target actually has a dexterity bonus or not, or when the rogue flanks her target. This extra damage is a d6 at first level and increases by 1d6 for every 2 levels thereafter. Should the rogue score a critical hit with a sneak attack, this extra damage is not multiplied. A range attack can count as a sneak attack only if the target is within 30 feet. With a weapon that deals non-lethal damage, like a sap, whip, or unarmed strike, a rogue can make a sneak attack that deals non-lethal damage instead of lethal damage. She cannot use a weapon that deals lethal damage to deal non-lethal damage in a sneak attack, not even with the usual -4 penalty. Rogue must be able to see the target well enough to pick out a vital spot and must be able to reach with such a spot. A rogue cannot sneak attack while striking a creature with concealment. There's nothing that states that you cannot use a weapon of, say, any type to be proficient. So we could technically take, like, martial weapon proficiency and start using that instead if we really wanted to. There's nothing that says that we can't. Usually with a rogue, you would normally want to be a more, you would normally want to be the dexterous type. You don't have to be, but normally you would want to be. And it may be wondering, well, why are we dumping? We can also dump strength all the way to 7 if we wanted to. But there are some things that we can do. Like, we can actually wield something like a rapier, which is a finesse weapon, as expected. I think we can already get studded leather armor right off the bat. Yeah, we can get studded leather armor right off the bat. And honestly, like, everything else is just gonna be more or less just some basic items that you normally would get based off of your character. We need thieves' tools. If I can find it. There we go. Thieves' tools. And technically, if we really want it, we don't even need that high of a strength if we don't want it, and we can actually put some points into strength itself. So, which does increase our carrying capacity. You can also take some daggers, because you never know when you're going to need a dagger. We're going to get like 5 of them. And then the rest of it is pretty much up to campaign. Like, food is... Rations are something that also depends on campaign. Yeah, I mean, you can throw daggers. Like, you have the option to throw a dagger. Like, you can throw a dagger at an enemy. It's got a range of 50 feet. Sometimes things glitch out. So, I mean, our rogue is effectively done. I mean, we've still got, like, 50, 40 something. Oh, I guess we could get some other normal stuff, like, bedroll and a water skin. There. Basics done. Oh, I guess we should probably also have some torches, because... There. We're effectively done. There's nothing else that we can... Oh, I get... hold on. We need something to light the frickin' torch. There. Now we're effectively done. We could also technically pick up things like a sling if we really wanted to. Slings are free. You know that if you throw a wooden weapon at or deposit and stare the cannon, it'll catch fire. I actually didn't know that. But here's the basics build of our swashbuckling rogue. I mean, it may not be the greatest character in the entirety of the game, but technically, I could also build this character completely differently. Then again, after setting yourself on fire, oops. So this is the rogue. Now, do note that a swashbuckler type character, I could have built with. I think the character sounds pretty cool. Yeah, I mean. Here's the funny thing. We don't actually have to be a rogue for this character. It's just that that's the one that I assumed people would associate with with the class. Here's the funny thing. We're going to scroll down just a little bit. Oh, look. There's a class called the Swashbuckler. There's also another Swashbuckler. I can find it. There's a rogue Swashbuckler. So technically I could have went further into making that character if I really wanted to, but I wanted to show that you could still do it in just the core rulebook. This character is effectively done. I mean, there's still like what, 40 something more gold pieces to spend. We got like 45.8 gold pieces to spend, but that can come up to campaign specifics. It's up to you on what you want to spend it on. You could spend it on things like Alchemist's Fire. You could technically spend it on a crossbow. We could technically get a crossbow. 100% get a crossbow. We're not going to be able to afford a hand crossbow. We can afford a light crossbow. And get some crossbow bolts. Go ahead and get that up to 20. There. Character's still done, and we got 18.8 gold pieces left. So, and before you ask, yes, there are firearms. We're not affording them at level 1. So, that's pretty much, that's it. That's how you build a character. Yeah. I mean, we can easily build. Here's the thing. You can also build around the crossbow, too. There's nothing that's saying that we have to take weapon finesse. If we wanted to instead be a ranged character, we could. We could 100% be a ranged character instead. Take point-blank shot, take precise shot, and then we're done. Do note, I usually don't play with the default rules of Pathfinder 1st Edition because there's a lot of stuff in here that I just... Meh. It's meh. Depending. But there's actually a reason why we got 13 intelligence here. And why I picked... my brain would fucking function! Why I picked elf instead of, like, human. Because human's honestly, like, the most common choice for a lot of these characters. Could have also picked half-elf if I really wanted to. Do note, we could also technically have built this character not as a rogue. A swashbuckler type character. We could have picked swashbuckler, which is more like a fencer than an actual, like, Harmy Hardies. But in order to make a pirate, honestly, the only thing you need is Profession Sailor. And any class can pick up Profession Sailor. Except for one. And that's technically Barbarian, but we won't go there. But, I mean, you can easily make any character that you want. There's nothing that says that you can't. Now, it may be like, oh my god, there's a lot of stuff that I need to do. And I'm like, cool. One step at a time. There's no easy way of building a character. I could easily build a swashbuckler character. Now, do note that some of these skills, I'm probably only going to put a rank in, like climb and swim. Because I'll go ahead and say this. Climb and swim may only need about 1 rank in them because they're heavily situational. They're extremely situational. They're not necessarily the easiest thing to get into and all that. So you don't necessarily need them. There's a reason why we put some ranks into bluff. And acrobatics, because acrobatics is just fun to have. If you're jumping all over the place, it's nice to have some acrobatics levels. But climb, swim are very situational. Some of these other skills are very situational. Linguistics can be heavily situational. Sleight of hand may not even really be required for your campaign. But as a thief-like character, having some sleight of hand is never a bad idea. And honestly, heard the high acrobatics cause some pretty funny shenanigans in Oblivion. Oh, it can cause some pretty funny shenanigans in Pathfinder First Edition too. Because you use acrobatics in order to jump. So if we roll acrobatics, it'll actually give you the DCs. So if we roll this, our character just, well, character did not get that far off the ground. He can jump a 5-foot gap. His height, he can only jump up to 1 foot. I rolled a 4. If we actually do the take 20 on this, we could potentially jump up to 21 feet. And jump up to a height of 5 feet. Now that's also assuming that if we take our armor off. So if we take our armor off, it will actually increase this. And we can technically jump up to 28 feet. Technically, it's supposed to be 25. I don't know why it's 28. I don't know why it's 21. Because it's supposed to be, the DC is equal to that, and then we can jump up to 7 feet tall. Up to 7 feet high. Which, that's a 7-foot high jump. So, like, and that's not even including, like, technically, I'm going to say this. The rogue is not even the best jumper in the game. That belongs to a different class. And I'll go ahead and show you. You'll notice that there's an unchained version. We're just going to look at the normal monk because it's just easier. Let's see here. It's under, I think, the key pool. Is it under key pool? Or is it a key pool ability? Snowfall, high jump. High jump, there it is. So, at 5th level, a monk adds his level on all acrobatics checks made to jump, both for vertical and horizontal jumps. In addition, he always counts as having a running start when making it. So you need a running start to make jumps, which is just you need to move at least 10 feet. And by spending 1 point from his key pool as a swift action, a monk gets a plus 20 bonus on acrobatics checks made to jump for 1 round. That's pretty high. I don't even think the Unchained monks actually get that either. I don't think they get high jump. Nope, it's considered a key power now, I believe. I'd actually have to look up some key powers because I don't know. And here's all the classes you can play in the game. How high can they jump? Starting at 5th level. Let's say that the monk had the exact same setup as our so let's assume that we're 5th level. We're just gonna, because we're gonna ignore that, and then we're gonna add 20 for taking a swift action, and then we're gonna add 5 for making our jumps, and then we're gonna take 20. A monk could theoretically jump 50, could long jump up to 57 feet, not including any bonuses he gets for being faster than a default character, and has a height of, can jump up to 14 feet tall if he rolled a natural 20 as a vertical leap. And here's the funny part. A 5th level monk by that time has an extra plus 10 to their movement speed, which means I believe they get a plus 4. Let me check something. Let me go to acrobatics. Let me scroll all the way down to here. Where is it? It's in the jump section. His base land speed goes above, so he gets a +4 racial bonus for every 10 feet above. So he technically gets a +4 plus level +20. If he rolls the natural 20, he can jump up to 61 feet and make a 15-foot high jump. Vertical leap. Standing still. Which is insane. That's a monk. We'll be back. Okay. Welcome back. That's not even the craziest thing. So let's assume that this monk is 20th level. This monk has had a starting... This is just... So we get to do plus 24, plus 20, plus 20 again. Before any other bonuses... I think monks are really good at jumping. And that's just to jump at 20th level. Do note that you can also make it crazier if you wanted to. There are feats that allow you to literally make jumping stupid. If you really wanted to. Do know that's at 20th level. And that's not even including anything like magic items that increase your acrobatics, or magic items that increase your dexterity score, or the ability score increases that allows you to increase your dexterity score. Like, there are a bunch of different things that you can use to increase some scores here as well. So, I'm not saying that you have to do that. I'm just saying that there are options. You have options when it comes to some of these things. And I'm not saying you have to do them. Do know there are some optional rules that I, as a GM, tend to run with. One of those being, you noticed it when I was first messing with this. There's something in the later down the line that was known as the background skills rule set. I like background skills because it moves some things over to the background skills, such as profession, sleight of hand, craft, artist, like all of these, which are generally don't come up in campaigns that often. So it actually allows us to get a few more skills, such as we can actually put a rank in escape artist, which would be nice, as well as a rank in sense motive or UMD or something like that. But I tend to run with this rule set for my players, and generally I try to convince GMs to run with this rule set anyway, because most of the background skills don't come up that often. And are very situational comparatively. And depending on campaign, you could also take ranks out of swim and climb if you know for certain that you're not going to be climbing or swimming anywhere. So there's that. I also run with a few different rule sets too. The main one that I run with is known as Elephant in the Room feat tax, which just gets rid of a whole bunch of feats and makes some feats apply to multiple things rather than simple things. But yeah, that's just some things just to make the game a little bit more fun for players and a little bit more fun for everyone else. Like, most of my groups run with Elephant in the Room feat tax because it just expands the options that players can do. And normally people would probably run weapon finesse, and then they would play a rogue that has access to other things. I also state that rogues, I also don't usually play normal rogues because of other things, but allow for players to play with the Unchained version of classes. The only one I probably wouldn't allow them to play the normal version is the Summoner. Just play the Unchained version. Same as the Unchained Rogue. It's honestly better in all regards. The Unchained Monk is, in my honest opinion, better than the normal Monk, and I'll show you why. So we'll just look at this right here. Here's the Unchained Monk. Here's the normal Monk. Can you tell me what's different between these two? Not much. Very subtle. If you can't see it, it's because you're just not looking hard enough. It's only in the left-hand section of both screens. But I'll just go ahead and mention it. The Unchained Monk, it's a D10 hit die, and a full bab, and a poor will, while the normal Monk gets a D8 hit die, medium bab, and has a good will save. I honestly think this Monk is better in all regards, just because of a few things. It's also proficient with a bunch of different weapons. This Monk is not nearly as proficient with every single weapon. This Monk is proficient with a lot more weapons, including any weapon with the monk quality attached to it, or the Monk weapon group, I should say. So yeah. Proficient with a lot more weapons. I think it has the same exact skills, so it's not like it's very different, but it's different enough, as well as it gets a few more extra abilities. It It still gets the bonus feats, the stunning fist, the flurry of blow. The flurry of blows is technically different. It still gets unarmed strike, AC bonus, and all the other stuff, but it gets key powers in very specific times and earlier than some of these. Like, get the key pull at 3rd level, which is actually earlier than the key pull of the other monk. You do lose out on maneuver training, but I think the key pull fixes that issue. I don't really know. Excuse me. So yeah, it's a bit small on my screen, so I can't read it. Yeah, it's there's some small different. I'll actually pull them up in this. So we'll go to Unchained Monk details. If you can see this one better, and then I'll go ahead and go to here, and we'll go ahead and pull up the normal monk. Normal monk. And I'll scroll down to here. So here's the normal monk. Here's the Unchained monk. Let me see if I can get them into the exact same position where they're easier to read. As you can see, the normal monk gets a D8 hit die. The Unchained monk gets a D10 hit die. The other monk gets this weird progression. And technically gets this progression if they really wanted to. This monk instead gets full bad progression, as well as his flurry of blows is changed. He gets to make flurry of blows is a full attack action. It gets 1 additional attack at its highest base attack bonus. This is stacks with other bonuses when you dispel the monk with these attacks. And then at 11th level, he gets an additional attack at his highest base attack bonus, which is kind of nice because effectively he gets 3 attacks that are at his highest base attack bonus. And then when he gets the key pull, he can spend a key point to make an additional unarmed strike at his highest. So effectively getting 3 extra attacks at his full attack. Compared to the normal monk, where his flurry of blows looks like this, which in my honest opinion isn't great. Just because of how flurry of blows works. It's not the easiest to understand, but effectively the flurry of blows uses your monk level, and you're counted as using 2-weapon fighting, I think. What is it? Yeah, it takes when doing so, he may make additional attacks, taking a -2 penalty on all of his attacks, as if using the 2-weapon fighting feat. So effectively, the flurry of blows for this one uses the 2-weapon fighting feat, which isn't great, but there's another class that actually does the 2-weapon fighting thing too, which is Brawler. Except it's much easier to understand, and is already built around the D10 hit die class. So you got 3 classes that are good at punching people. Monk, Unchained Monk, and Brawler. Brawler was actually turned into the class that's actually really good at using combat maneuvers. They get maneuver training, which they took from normal monk. Normal monks get maneuver training normally, but all it does is that a monk uses a monk level in place of his base attack bonus to calculate the combat maneuver bonus. Base attack bonus gained from other classes are ineffective and are normal. Yeah, effectively, so Paizo came out with 4 classes that needed an update, one of them being Barbarian, Rogue, Monk, and Summoner, and just buffed them to be a bit better. So that's pretty much it. That's all that happened. But, yeah. You effectively have 2 classes that are really good at punching people, which is the Monk and the Brawler. Which is, the Brawler is kind of a hybrid between both Fighter and Monk. And technically you can make a Fighter that's good at unarmed combat, but you're not going to do nearly as much damage as a Monk. Technically you could probably do just about as much damage as a Monk on average, if you built it right. But yeah. I know things are very, very confusing. There's a lot of classes that you can technically play as. If you like playing Warlock, you got the Witch, which effectively just is effectively the same concept-wise. But if you've never played Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, some of these classes are going to be like, okay, why would you play this class over this class? Every class has its own, like, unique way of playing. You've got, like, out of all of these classes, only a few of these classes are not spellcasters. So, not a spellcaster, is a spellcaster, is a spellcaster, is a spellcaster, 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 not a spellcaster. Technically not a spellcaster. Isn't. It's a weird situation. Is a spellcaster, is a spellcaster, is a spellcaster. But yeah. Never played D&D period, so I'm really not familiar with how stuff works. Just note that when you play Pathfinder 1st Edition or any tabletop role-playing game, you roll funny dice and try to have fun with it. That's the main thing, is that a lot of people think that, like, and more than likely, also the reason why I do not like 5th edition more than any other class or TTRPG is I've already thrown a short out as to why. But the other reason I think is just because, like, each class has a lot of different archetypes or subclasses associated with it. And I'm like, cool, but every fighter feels the same. Every barbarian feels the same. Every wizard, sorcerer, rogue, barbarian, bard, like all of them kind of feel the same. And that's kind of like an issue that I have, is that all of those classes kind of feel just too similar. Like all the main mechanics are the same, especially for like wizard. Like a lot of them are relatively the same. When in this game, in Pathfinder 1st Edition, like an alchemist is different from a wizard, a summoner is different from a sorcerer, a fighter is different from a cavalier, from a barbarian, a magus, effectively being an eldritch knight, the magus being the better version of an eldritch knight, but we won't go there. Rogue really only being good with finesse weapons kind of rubs me the wrong way, but it's neither here nor there. Ranger kind of being useless in 5th edition, rather than in, like, I think in 3.5 and here and even in 2nd edition, Rangers actually have a, like, defined role in a party. So, I don't know. It's a very weird dichotomy where many of these classes are similar in some regards, but different in other regards. It also kind of rubs me the wrong way that literally, like, out of all of the spellcasters in the game, you effectively have, what, one main class intelligence class, 4 frickin' charisma classes, and 3 wisdom classes for spellcasting, and 2 subclasses with intelligence, and I'm like, really? Out of all of them, you've pretty much, like, baked all of these classes, like, because it feels weird that literally Bard, Paladin, Warlock, and Sorcerer all use Charisma. Wizard's the only one that uses Intelligence, with 2 subclasses of Fighter and Rogue, and usually for those you probably won't even pick any spells that require you to roll your casting stat because it's the most effective. You could do it. It's not like you can't. While, and this one, you've got, let's see, one, I don't actually know if Arcanist. You have it, I know you have at least two. There's these two. Alchemist and Investigator technically count, but it's for other reasons. Magus is another one. And then I think Arcanist is intelligence-based? Or is it charisma? It's intelligence. So, like, you've got way more classes that are intelligence-based. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Master Koga's boss fight, so... Yeah, they are much better in Tears of the Kingdom, because it's, like, not one boss fight. Although I will say you still have a lot more charisma-based casters in Pathfinder First Edition. Are Anti-Paladin, Bard, Blood Rager, Medium, Mesmerist, Occultist, Oracle, Paladin, Psychic. I could keep going. Scald, Sorcerer. Like, you've got a lot more that are still charisma-based. Spiritualist. Because all of those are charisma-based. If you're a spontaneous caster, you're charisma-based. -2. Which is Hunter and Inquisitor. You also have Cleric, Druid, Hunter, Inquisitor, War Priest, Ranger. I think that's it for wisdom-based. Oh, Shaman. That's it for wisdom-based casters. And then your marshals are effectively any class with a 3/4 BAB or higher without spellcasting. So technically your alchemist and investigator are technically marshals. Your anti-paladin, barbarian, blood rager, brawler, cavalier, gunslinger, hunter, inquisitor. Technically, you could say hunter, inquisitor. Technically, are martial based too. For many of these classes, you could technically build them towards martial. Classes that are really hard to build towards martial are any of the full casters, minus cleric, druid, and oracle. And I think Mesmerist and Occultist and any class with a D6 hit die is a lot harder to build towards martial than some of the other ones. All the other ones are actually easier to build towards martial. So, yeah. That's pretty much it on Pathfinder First Edition. Really need to get back into playing frickin' Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous one of these days, but I don't know. I just haven't really been in the mood to play it. I don't know why I haven't really been in the mood to play it. I just haven't. Maybe because it just doesn't really make a lot of good shorts content. That might be why. And honestly, I've been doing a lot of stuff that really hasn't been really good for shorts content either. Rogue was honestly one of the easier options to build for. But if you're wondering how many feats a character can start with at first level, well, let me show you. Some classes, so depending on it depends on which class and race you pick. The class that you want to pick that will give you the access to the most feats is fighter, and then you want to pick human or half-elf if you want more feats. Half-elf gives you one specific feat, a human will give you more feats. If you're looking to pick up skill focus in general, your best bet is just to pick the half-elf. There are also other ways to customize your character. You could technically pick an archetype out of a class if you wanted to. Meaning you could technically change up some stuff for some of those characters. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do in-game. It's not a lot. You can't do everything. in Pathfinder First Edition. It's best to specialize, but I'm going to go ahead and say this. If you are planning on playing Pathfinder First Edition, I highly recommend finding somebody who knows how to play that can give you recommendations on what you can and can't build so that you don't accidentally fall into traps. It also depends on campaign on what feats you should be taking. Because if you're in a survivalist-based campaign, you're probably going to want some abilities that allow you to get more stuff. Because I will say this, there are some feats in this game that are 100% trap feats, which do not do anything for you if you pick them up. If I ever do, I'll keep that advice. Yeah. Some of these things may sound cool, and you can multi-class if you want to. You don't need to meet any minimum prerequisites unless you're planning on going to a prestige class. Then you do have minimum prerequisites to meet. There's a lot of prestige classes that you could technically do. But classes are generally a lot harder to... It's a lot easier to screw up a build in Pathfinder First Edition than it is in, say, 5th Edition. Playing at first level, first through third level, you shouldn't really screw up your build that much. And all that. Over now, I'll see you later. Alrighty. I'm actually about to probably get off because it may only be 4:40, but I have also been streaming for almost 3.5 hours, or for a little, almost 4 hours, and in my honest opinion, I probably need to go ahead and go, because I still have some things I need to go do and such, so I'm gonna go do that real quick. I will not be streaming tomorrow. So tomorrow I will not be streaming, but I'm gonna go ahead and see if there's anybody that I can raid real quick. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. Sorry, Dino, you just hit me trying to find somebody to raid. We're just about to end. If I can find somebody to raid. What have I not raided in like forever? Somebody haven't raided forever? You know what? We're gonna raid D. D-type. I don't think I've ever raided them, and they're playing, apparently they're playing Lethal Company at the moment. Probably with some friends. So, thank you guys for joining me, and I will see you guys later.